This video is brought to you by my new album entitled Dougal's Treats. It's full of hummable melodies, bluesy riffs and the occasional bit of virtuoso flashy stuff as well. If you enjoy bluesy rock guitar with memorable tunes and solos that wail like a banshee, then check out the links in the description. The premium version includes all of the tabs for each tune, videos and jam tracks as well. Thanks for listening. Now on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. It's just a quick little first impressions look at this guitar today, a G&L Tribute Series Comanche. There we go, Indonesian made G&L, doesn't belong to me, it belongs to a chap who watches this channel. He's up in Scotland, he's called Rob, and occasionally sends me guitars to make videos about, and I think he wants rid of this one. So if you're interested, pop me an email, jrguitartuition@gmail.com, and I'll pass your details on to Rob and you can hammer out a price. Quick little run through the specs. We've got I think a basswood body with a burl poplar top. I'm assuming it's a veneer. We've got a bolt-on neck, the old school, nothing fancy, no sculpting or anything like that. 4-bolt neck plate. You know, the neck is roasted maple. I'm assuming this fretboard is rosewood. It looks very rosewood-y. I'll have more details for you in Sunday's video where I'm going to be doing a bit more of a deep dive and we'll hear what the guitar sounds like in a mix and all that sort of stuff. We've got 22 frets, medium jumbo I'd call these, 12-inch radius. The main sort of, I mean, so far so run-of-the-mill, you know, it's basically a Strat. Where things start to get interesting are the pickups. These are the Z coil or Z coil, depending upon which part of the world you're in. We say Z in the UK. Z coil MFD hum cancelling pickups. These are hum cancelling pickups that give a single coil sound. Pretty much a holy grail for guitar players, well, since time immemorial really, and these do a pretty good job of that, as you'll hear very shortly. We've got two tone controls. We've got here a passive treble tone control and a passive bass control there. I think I've seen them listed as, you know, passive treble and bass boost, but passive and boost are a contradiction in terms as far as I'm aware. You know, when I did electronics at college back in the 80s, if you're going to boost something, then you're adding extra energy to a signal. That energy will come in the form of a little 9-volt battery, usually in the guitar context, which kind of feeds a circuit, which then adds the additional energy to the signal that's coming out of the socket. So I'm going to call these a passive treble and bass controls rather than boost. We've also got on the what is the treble control, push-pull switch, which basically does that Gilmore mod. So if you're on the bridge pickup or the neck pickup, it puts them both in parallel so you can get like that middle position on a Telecaster sound. Or if you're in one of the sort of position 2 or position 4 Knopfler, Robert Cray kind of positions on a Strat, you know, those two or those two, then pull that up and you get all 3 pickups on. And as I say, we're going to hear what all of this sounds like very shortly. We have a bone nut, locking tuners and a dual fulcrum trem. Let's cut straight to the chase now. I'm going to go to a bit of B-roll where I'm going through all of the positions on the 5-way switch, having a bit of a play around with the passive tone controls and seeing what this Gilmore mod switch sounds like when you bring that into the mix. Here it is, and then we'll talk about what kind of sounds we're getting. So I got to tell you, it sounded like a Strat, you know, to me. I was impressed with the single coilness of the sounds for hum cancelling pickups. I had, as you heard, when I kind of turned the guitar's volume control up, there was a little bit of, you know, gaininess going on. There was nothing going on there that would, you know, kind of qualify as a high gain sound, but it wasn't clean either. And there was no buzz or main hum or anything like that. So, you know, these pickups definitely do seem to be hum cancelling. I was less impressed with the tone controls. The bass one, I was struggling to hear what effect it was having, to be honest with you, and the treble one seemed to go from muffled to normal and then to thin and scratchy sounding. If this was my guitar, these would be getting changed. I've done videos in the past where I talk about how I like it, to use the tone control to dial in a particular sound. On a regular tone control, I find there's a sweet spot that you can identify, and that's where I kind of set it and forget it on all of my guitars. I don't doubt that I could use these controls to achieve a similar result, but it would, you know, it wasn't broke, so why fix it, is my opinion on that. Your mileage may vary. Yeah, the push pull on this tone control here did what you expected to do. Gave a nice sort of Telecaster-ish sound with the you know, when we were on either the bridge or the neck pickup, and it, you know, kind of did that sort of Telecaster middle position thing, exactly as you'd expect. I've done that mod on guitars before, and it's, you know, it's a sound that well, you know what you're getting, and it didn't throw up any surprises, and it did a pretty good version of it. I was less impressed with the all three pickups on together. That just sounded like the middle and neck positions on a regular Strat, but with the tone control, if this guitar had a prop one, rolled off to about you know, a quarter of the way. So yeah, not so impressed with the tone controls, but you know, that's it's wiring, it's electronics, it's easily fixed. You know, you're not having to kind of reshape the neck or anything. What I also found nice was the fact that the guitar cleans up very, very well from the guitar's volume control. It doesn't turn to a muddy, woolly, let's throw a blanket over the amp kind of muffled sounding mess when you turn the volume down, which is sometimes what you get on some guitars. Well, you know, in terms of the sound it makes, it sounds like, I would say, a good quality Strat. I wouldn't, again, I won't go over me gripe with the tone controls, I've covered that already, but you know, other than that, it's a nice sounding Strat style guitar. It feels well built as well. Some guitars, you pick them up and they feel cheap, and they feel not particularly well put together, and they don't inspire confidence in terms of, you know, it feeling solid and well made. This guitar does. This guitar feels like a professional quality instrument, which I guess it is. The neck is really comfortable. It sits in the hand rather nicely. It's very, I can imagine this neck being very much in the Goldilocks zone for many people, unless you are a vintage purist and dislike a 12-inch radius, and it has to be, you know, the old school Fender 7 1/4 inch. But I think for most people, you would find this neck very accommodating. There is no fretboard kind of rounding off, you know, the edges aren't rolled or anything, but you know, that's a 20-minute job with a Stanley knife blade, isn't it, really? That's you know, it's not a massive issue to do that. So what about the trem? Because one thing that I am always suspicious of, I beg your pardon, breaking these teeth in for the dog, when I see a butterfly string tree like that, I always think, okay, yeah, that doesn't look good for tuning stability. So I did a little bit of a test, kind of giving the trem some abuse earlier on, and this is how we got on. So you can go pretty silly with it, you know, in terms of dive bombing. I did notice, and you probably noticed there, that the B and E strings, when I went, you know, kind of dumping the strings down to slack, did start to get a little bit, you know, off kilter. But, you know, just put a roller string tree on. I just wish manufacturers would do that. If I can go on to Amazon or, you know, anywhere where you can buy guitar parts and buy a roller string tree for pennies, and I'm paying retail price, if you're a guitar manufacturer, you can probably buy it for many less pennies at a wholesale price if you're buying them by the container load. And just put one on at the factory, please. You know, it just shows that you care that little bit more. So, pros and cons. I like the hum cancelling pickups. Good single coil sound with no noise. I like the smoothness of the trem. The tuning stability is okay, but you'd want what's it called? Roller string tree on there. Comfortable neck, good setup. Fretwork on this is absolutely splendid. Nothing, you know, a well set up guitar should be just something that you don't notice. You know, it just kind of, it doesn't get in your way, and this guitar, the setup on this guitar certainly doesn't. You know, it's well set up, it plays nicely. Slinky, low action. I'll do all the weights and measures in Sunday's video. The Gilmore mod, I like. It's a pretty guitar. It's a nice looking thing, you know, and that we are, to some degree or other, shallow, and an attractive looking guitar will always make us kind of give it a second look. You know, it's just the way that it is, and it stands out from the crowd. It's just different from every other Strat kind of style guitar out there. This one, you know, it makes you kind of you know, look like you're playing something that's had a little bit of thought put into it, and you're not just kind of going blindly for yet another Strat style guitar. Things I don't like: the butterfly string tree, the tone controls, and I haven't weighed it yet, but it is not a bantamweight guitar. This one, it has got a bit of heft to it. As I say, full weights and measures, hear what the guitar sounds like in a mix and all of that coming up on Sunday. But that is it for now. Those are my first impressions of the G&L Tribute Series Comanche. A nice little guitar, Indonesian made, high quality, professional quality instrument. One or two things I'm not over the moon about, but you know, maybe that's just my opinion. You want to certainly worth trying out for yourself. And as I say, this one I think is for sale. So if you're interested, ping me an email, jrguitartuition@gmail.com, and I'll pass your details on to Rob, the chap who owns the guitar, and you know, maybe there's a deal to be struck. But that's it for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed the video, found it useful in some small way, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday at 5 PM UK time. We have a beer and we have a chat. Basically, that's all that happens, but it's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.